Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome to Crafting in Carrollville. We're starting our craft off with this big, huge piece of decoupage paper. It's 20 inches by 30 inches. We're also going to use these wood slats that I picked up at the bins. I have lots of these, and when I need them, I pull them out. I know they're bowed, but we're going to address that some point in this video, and you're going to see it's not going to be a problem in our finished project. Anyway, and now our third material we're going to use is this hardboard from Home Depot. It is $6.49. The overall size of my project is going to be 24 inches by 34 inches, and this board comes 24 by 48, so a 2x4 piece of this hardboard. I just cut a foot off of it, and now I'm ready to use it. I am painting my board white. You can see that. I'm just using any old white paint that I have on hand. Doesn't really matter to me if it's good paint or it's not even going to show. I'm obviously just painting this board white so that I can decoupage over it without washing out my color. And now I'm taking the exact same paint and I'm painting those slat boards. This is just like house paint. Maybe I had it left over from when we painted or something like that. I don't seriously even know where it came from. I do know that to get a matte finish, which is what I'm after, I did add some calcium carbonate. So if you want to have that matte chalky finish, you can always add calcium carbonate to just about any paint. This paint has been sitting around my studio for a while. Anyway, so I'm just using a chip brush to paint those slat boards. Those are actually what I'm going to use to frame out my piece. I always like to make a frame when I'm doing an art piece. It really just finishes off and makes things look like art. So that's my goal here, and my intention is to make a big giant art piece for my own front porch. I've already made a couple of these at this point because I sold the first one I made, and I'm sure I'll get orders for several more before the season is finished. Every year I make a big Santa piece. I also make a big nativity piece. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for my nativity piece this year, but we are doing like a lodgy country type Christmas theme in my house this year, like a Western theme almost. So this Santa works perfectly for the scheme I have for my house this year. I'm super excited because we have not decorated for Christmas in about 3 years now, or we've decorated very minimally since Hurricane Ian. We finally really just got our house put back together, and I'm super excited because I'm actually going to be able to decorate rooms that I've never really touched before at Christmas time. So my husband, poor guy, he's not super excited about it. He's excited about the end result and what it will look like, but the attic is not something he's super excited about. Anyway, so now my next step here is to decoupage my picture onto my board, and you can see I'm using Mod Podge. I've thinned it way down, and I actually have it in a different container. I like to pour it into a different container and then add water and mix it well. So I am just using my starter strip method here to decoupage this down to the board a few strips at a time. I'm using a foam brush to spread the Mod Podge, and I'm using a thin layer. I don't need to wet my paper. There's no reason for the top of it to feel wet as I go. It doesn't need to saturate the paper. It just needs to stick the paper down to my surface there. So that's what I'm working on. And you can see I'm using a balled up piece of plastic wrap to use in place of my bare fingers so that it doesn't cause friction where I don't want it to, and possibly tear my paper. This is paper that I got from Zazzle. It is the 18-pound paper. They have it in several different weights. I think they have a 10-pound paper and an 18-pound paper, and they also have several sizes. So this particular paper, like I mentioned, is 20 inches by 30 inches, and because I'm adding those 2-inch slats around the entire project, it will increase the height and width by 4 inches. So my finished piece is going to be 24 inches by 34 inches, which is a pretty good size of artwork. I'm actually making 2 pieces of artwork, and these are going to go on my, we call it our front porch. It's not actually a porch. Well, it is. It's not air conditioned, so in that aspect, it's a porch. It also has just one half wall of screens, and I say that so you know that this is not going to be outside in the elements. When I say a porch, I don't mean that it's going to be exposed to the elements. It's really just basically a sunroom, or in our world we call it a lanai. So anyway, and this room really was fully renovated in the last couple of years, so this will be the first time I've actually decorated that particular room for Christmas. So that's why I'm pretty excited about producing some new pieces just for that room. Anyway, I'm just making sure that all the edges are down. I'm not going to seal this with Mod Podge on top. I really don't think there's any reason to. I don't want the texture that would put on the piece. And, you know, it's going to be displayed for a month, maybe 2 months every year. And I also, part of my thinking was I wanted to keep these pieces lightweight so that they'd just be tossed into the attic at the end of the season. You know, I don't want to do anything with glass or make them heavier than they need to be. Okay, so now here we are. I am going to use wood glue to glue my slats down to my board, and you can see they're quite bowed, but that's going to work itself out, and I'm going to tell you how I do that as we go. I'm just making a frame around this board, and listen, you know, if the slats were actually going to show at the corners, I would miter the corners and I would make it much more fancy than what you see I'm doing here. But these are going to be covered by the molds of snowflakes that I'm going to be putting on the piece. So I'm not too worried about making a pretty frame necessarily, because it's going to get pretty as it goes. So here I am, I'm just using wood glue and I'm clamping those slats down to my board, and you can see that board is not thick or stiff enough to straighten those slats out. So what I do is at the end of it, when I have everything glued down, those slats glued down, I come back and I use my brad nailer to fasten a 1x2 to the back of just on the horizontal pieces. So just on the vertical pieces. So just on the long sides of my Santa picture there, I take a 1x2 and I use my brad nailer to secure to the back of the picture, and that straightens those bowed slats right out and my picture is straight. So like I said, I'm using what I have on hand, and I'm also trying to make it lightweight so that I can just put these up in the attic at the end of the year. Anyway, so that's what I've done there. I'm also being careful about where I put the seams, because my slats aren't quite long enough to span that whole length of the long side there. So I have to cut small pieces and put them in there, but I'm being careful to put those cuts where they're going to be hidden later on when I add my snowflakes. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about as we go. Right now it might not make sense, but it's going to make sense. So all 4 sides I have to glue those slats to my picture. Like I mentioned, I have another picture I can't wait to do, and it's Santa Claus kind of nuzzling Rudolph. It's really a beautiful picture. So I can't wait to do that one as well. This is all very, I don't know about y'all, but I love Christmas time. I think we all do. But part of the reason I love Christmas is that I love to decorate my house at Christmas time, and I am, now listen, I am team let's have Thanksgiving first. Like every single year I want to wait till Friday after Thanksgiving to decorate my house, but we are probably having grandchildren in for Thanksgiving, and I do not I don't want to celebrate Thanksgiving without decorations this year if they're going to be here, because it would just, it makes it more magical for the kids. And they're not going to be here for Christmas. So I have the motivation of knowing that we're going to have an infant, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old. That probably makes me a little crazy, but I do think the 4 and 5-year-old will be old enough to handle a tree, and the 2-year-old is almost 3, so I think he'll be okay, and the baby is still a baby in arms. So they're probably, trust me, my Christmas decor is probably much safer around them than it is my 15-month-old German short-haired pointer puppy. So we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. Anyway, I'm just using, again, these clamps to give that wood glue time to dry. And as I go, I'm making sure I don't have any wood glue oozing out on the edges there. I'm cleaning up as I go. That's always good practice. Always clean up as you go. Crafting can be messy. All right, so now, speaking of messy, I'm going to cast these molds here. I have my amazing casting resin, and if you've used this before, you know that you use 1 part A and 1 part B. You stir it for about 30 seconds. You can sort of feel it heating up as you're stirring it. And then I'm just going to pour this resin into my molds. I don't show you all the molds that I use here because I actually, it took me quite a while to pour all the molds that I used to complete this project. I think I may have filled everything up twice, to be honest, but these are just the small molds that I used. I also have large molds and medium-sized molds. I do not have the IOD mold. I forget what it's called, but they have a beautiful snowflake mold. I don't have it because I thought, well, when am I ever going to use snowflakes, really? I live in Southwest Florida. We don't really do snow down here. But when this project came to mind, I knew I needed some snowflake molds. So I got these from Amazon, and it was several different orders that I had to make because I needed lots of variety, small ones, medium size, and large ones. And you'll see why as we go. I really do a layering effect with them. This is probably one of my favorite projects that I've ever made for Christmas. Last year I made big, giant nativity cutouts, which I loved. And I don't think I'm going to make those this year, but I have to be racking my brain figuring out what kind of nativity project I'm going to do. Because listen, like, Christmas just isn't Christmas without a nativity. That's the way I feel about it. I'll just say it loud and proud that Jesus is the reason for the season. So, but Santa Claus is a fun part of the Christmas season, and I don't want that to be lost on my kiddos that are coming. So our thought is we just want to make it as magical as we can for the time that they're here. So I want to decorate my house accordingly. Anyway, so you have to pour this pretty quick after you stir it because it's going to set up pretty quick. Sets in between 5 and 10 minutes. Seems like everything sort of happens faster in the Florida heat, so I feel like mine usually set up in about 5 minutes. And I don't know why this is, but sometimes the bigger things set faster. I don't really know why that is, but anyway. You can see I have some big snowflakes that are just, sort of just one entire mold, and then I have a bunch of tiny little things. And what I don't fill up with casting resin, I come in with my glue gun and just fill in some of those empty ones with hot glue, which is always a great option, especially for little tiny molds, especially if you have a precision tip hot glue gun. Here we go. Now this is the fun part. I'm just adding these snowflakes onto the frame of my picture here. The glue's all dry. I have my 1x2s attached to the back. This frame is in the process of straightening out. It will definitely straighten out as it just relieves itself to the pressure of those 1x2s on the back, and all those bows go away. Anyway, the reason I wanted so many different sizes of snowflakes is that the big ones in particular were basically very generic. They didn't have any texture to them. They were just a snowflake shape. But I wanted this to have lots and lots of texture. So what I did was, when I used the big snowflakes, I put a smaller one on top to create texture. Because you're going to see I'm going to come in with that wax that we all love, and that's what's going to bring out all the details of those snowflakes. I'm just using hot glue to attach them to my frame here. Sometimes I might use wood glue, but I feel like I said, these things are going to be used a couple months of the year at most, and I think hot glue will be sufficient to keep them together. Generally, I don't have trouble with hot glue in my Christmas crafts, so I think this will be just fine. I could have used wood glue, but I feel like it just would have been a lot more messy. I would have spent a lot of time cleaning up at that point, and I made one of these for me, and then I have orders for more, so during this project, it's entirely possible, and it is possible that I worked on several of these, not just one. So what you saw at the beginning might not be the one that I'm working on right now. And generally, around this time of year, that's the way it goes. I generally commit to making 5 or 10 of something, and I don't make it until I've sold it. So basically I do them on pre-order, because I don't know about y'all, but I don't have room for extra things like this lying around my house and my workshop. So, and usually Christmas items are a quick sell and a sure thing for me. This time of year I don't really have any problem at all selling my Christmas stuff. So don't you just love that, Santa? If you haven't used Zazzle, go over there and take a look. I'll put a link in the description box for you, because you really, if you love decoupage paper, if you have a source for decoupage paper, keep using them, don't let me change your mind. But you could just really fall down the rabbit hole at Zazzle. Not only do they have already made decoupage paper, they also have a platform right on their website where you can design your own decoupage paper. So I've done it that way several times. I think that's just a great option. It's such a creative way to add artwork to your space. And, artwork that nobody else is going to have. Like, for instance, I know we've all, been down to Hobby Lobby lately. I know I have several times. But when I look around, I don't see anything that's quite like this. And I really appreciate that. I like to have things in my home that I know nobody else will have. I think that's sort of important. Anyway, so I did one corner. I did all 4 corners. I don't think it's necessary to show you myself doing all 4 corners. But now I'm coming back in and I'm painting my snowflakes the exact paint that I used for my frame. Just have that paper towel there so that I don't get paint on my picture. That would be exactly something I would do. And, because I put the paper towel there, I didn't get one single piece of paint on the paper towel. But had I not put it there, you know exactly what would have happened, because I can't be the only one. But anyway, like I said, it's really just, I don't think it really matters what kind of paint you use at this point. Like when I have a big project like this, I don't really like to use my expensive, you know, bougie paint, I call it. I kind of just like to use whatever I've got on hand. And then I come back in with some paint and I just add some snow. I think, you know, snowed extra hard that day. So now I'm just going to let that paint dry. I'm sure I'm trying to look at something right there. I have to have it super close so I can see it. And now this is where the magic happens. I really love this part of any project. I'm going to come in with my Grunge Gray wax by Dixie Belle, and I'm going to get the wax into all of those details. I'm using a wet baby wipe there to wipe the wax back as I go. Another alternative would be to wax first with clear wax and then come in with your Grunge Gray wax, and the clear wax will sort of help build a resistance so you don't get the wax where you don't want it, and you can also move it easier. Anyway, that's what I'm doing here. Like I said, this is just such a favorite part of any project where you use molds that you just really can't wait to see how those details are going to pop. I love that. I haven't mentioned this yet, but I need y'all to like, subscribe, comment, share, all the things that are going to help me here on YouTube. You know, you work for free on YouTube until you don't, and so we're still at the point where we're working for free. It's probably why you don't see me very often, because I got plenty of stuff I can do to get paid for. So that's, you know, really what I spend my time doing. But when I have some downtime, I like to come over here and just show you what I've been up to. It is a fun interaction that I have. I like to see what y'all are doing as well. And I also spend a lot of time, you know, finding inspiration on YouTube. I tried to move y'all in closer here so you can really see that magic happen with the wax. Another person that I love to watch Provincial Farmhouse. I don't know if y'all know Erin or not, but she does the most beautiful layered projects with molds. She's like the mold queen. She really is. And the girl's just got some talent. So she was really my inspiration. She didn't make this particular project, but she definitely inspired me to try layering my molds. And you can see just how that worked. I used the bigger ones on the bottom, and if I had molds that weren't perfect, as in, you know, I over poured, or they just had they were messy or whatever it was, I used those ones on the bottom. And if, you know, if the edges were great, then that's what's showing is the edges. So not all my molds turned out perfectly, and if they didn't, I just used them as filler on the bottom. So there's a thought. Don't throw them away if there's a part of them that you can use. So, and again, if y'all know, you know, I'm not trying to change the color of my snowflakes there. I still want them to be the color that they are, but I want that wax to stay down in the details. So I am coming back and I'm using the wet wipe to wipe the wax off of the actual surface of the snowflakes, and then I'm coming in with a paper towel to dry them, because when you wet the wax, that can tend to make your surfaces muddy, and you really don't want to do that. You don't want, you know, a layer of what looks like mud on your molds. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. Gosh, I wish I could really do things this fast. I would get so much more done in a day if I could just move that fast all day. That'd be great. I'm sure we all feel that way. I use basically an old brush that's sort of a dedicated brush for my waxes and things like that. I don't like to ruin every brush I've got. So these are some like hard bristle brushes that I picked up at Ross, which I don't know if y'all know this, but Ross, like the actual, department store, actually has some pretty neat art supplies on a regular basis. I bought quite a few things there, like paintbrushes and markers and things that you're not going to really find like anywhere else, the exact item. But I found that stores that are sort of unlikely suspects when it comes to art supplies actually are not. Ross, Bell's Outlet is another one. I don't know if y'all have that. I think it's a Florida thing, Bell's. Anyway, I haven't checked out TJ Maxx or Home Goods or other places like that, but maybe they've got some things too. I don't really know. And I don't know how I don't know, because I go everywhere. Like, if it's a store and it has sales, I'm there. That's pretty funny. Don't tell my husband. He knows. He knows me pretty well. Anyway, so I do that in all four corners. It takes a little bit of time, but this is time that is well spent, and I love it that you see the results so immediately. As soon as you wipe down that wax, boy, everything just pops. Anyway, after I have everything waxed and I can see the details, I'm going to take a couple more steps before I call this project complete. I'm going to go over just the surfaces of those snowflakes with a paint that I love. It is made by Folk Art, and I've brought you in here hopefully so that you can see the effect that this paint is going to have on those snowflakes. I know it's a little blurry. I'm using something called white flash paint. It's called flash paint, but it's white, so it's white flash paint. It's by Folk Art, and it is sort of an iridescent finish. It's beautiful, and I absolutely love the finish that this gives. I can't think of any other product that does this thing. So I hope you can see it. It's sort of, like I said, it's giving like an iridescent shine, almost like a hologram. And then at the very end, you can see that I used my husband's ice cream spoon to spread glitter on my snowflakes. Now, it's totally unnecessary that he knows that. So, that's just like a secret I have between me and you. But that's exactly what I do. And for all I know, it could be my ice cream spoon, but I like to think it's his, because I'm silly that way. Anyway, and I'm going to take that very last step here in just a second. You're going to see glitter explode all over my work surface. I want to mention that just about everything in this project came from the bins. I know I bought the big tub of glitter that I used at the bins. I got the slats from there. Of course, I told you where I got the decoupage picture from. I also got the board that I'm using from Home Depot. But that doesn't mean that I got every board I use for this project at Home Depot, because I find lots of good stuff at the bins. Anyway, we're nearing the end of our video.
Here we go for our most exciting time. Ho, 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 and here we go. Get